I'm Elizabeth Hess, and my sister's pep talk to give me energy for today was that nobody cares what I'm saying and nobody's here to see me, so that actually helped. Good evening and good afternoon and good morning and welcome to the 2023 Municipal Election Candidate Forum for the Champaign City Council, Champaign Mayor, and the Unit 4 School Board. Thank you to the candidates for agreeing to participate today. We greatly appreciate your time. We also are very grateful, heartfelt grateful to the co-hosts of this event. We have the League of Women's Voters of Champaign County, I'll Vote of Champaign County, the NAACP Champaign County Branch, Indivisible Rural Illinois, Bend the Arc Jewish Action, Champaign-Urbana, and the News Gazette. Also, thank you to the Champaign Public Library, Daryl Homan for being here, and of course, Michelle Cooper and Jen Lask, our timekeepers. Thank you both for being here today. Today's questions came in advance through an open portal, through a survey. We are not taking questions from the audience today, but thank you to everyone who participated in the questions. Our timetable today includes, of course, the mayoral candidates first, then there will be a Q&A afterwards in room C, followed by city council candidates, followed by a Q&A, and then last but not least, Unit 4 school board members. Parkland College Board of Trustees candidates will speak briefly at the end, and then they will have a meet and greet concurrent with the Unit 4 school board members. Let's review the format for today's forum. Each candidate has up to 2 minutes to give an opening statement addressing their qualifications and reasons for running, as well as one top priority. Your opening statements are followed by issue questions posted by me. You will have up to 1 minute each. 60 seconds sounds like a lot. It will go quickly. Each participant has up to 2 minutes for a closing statement. This is how it works. At 90 seconds, our timekeeper, Jen, right here, she will signal to Michelle that there are 30 seconds left. Michelle will hold up that yellow sign. That means you have 30 seconds. Once you get to the end, Michelle will hold up the red stop sign. And stop, please, because we don't have any plans after that. No one's told me what to do after that. Thanks. Other rules: civil dialogue is required between all participants, audience members, and candidates. Candidates are going to refrain from any negative attacks on other candidates. I'm not looking at anyone in particular. I'm speaking to all the candidates. They may not mention anyone else by name. They can only speak to what they plan to do if and when in office. This event is being photographed and recorded. Photos can be used. We encourage you to post on social media. Portions of this event may be live streamed and or recorded. You can find it on the Champaign League of Women's YouTube channel. Of course, I'll Vote Champaign also has a stream. Please don't photograph or videotape any part of today, and let us know, let our photographer know if you do not want to be in social media, if you are really camera shy like some of us. A couple more announcements. You can learn more about the candidates at votechampaign.org/guide. James Manrique and his staff have done an amazing job assembling bios and Q&A there. It's really, really great. Most of the candidate Q&As are now posted on this site. Let's all take a pledge to vote. This is a nonpartisan pledge. Do you belong to a book club, high school club, UIUC student club, or an office of a larger organization? Ask your group if they're willing to pledge to vote. When your group pledges to vote, we will post it on social media so everyone knows. To sign up your group, just go to the Facebook page of any of our co-hosts and look for their candidate forum event post. We also have a handout with a QR code at one of the tables that you can take with you. Help yourself to snacks at the back of the room and stick around for Champaign City Council and Champaign School Board forums, which are up next. First, let's start with the mayoral forum. We have Azark Cobbs, Deborah Frank Finan, and Don Gerard running for Champaign Mayor. We have 2 minutes for each of you, and we are going to go alphabetically first, which will start with you, Mr. Cobbs. And you are going to have 2 minutes to tell us the following questions, and we will mix up the order of who goes first.
Oh,
Okay.
ready?
We are ready.
Thank you. I'm Azark David Cobbs, and my opening statement is, why do I think I qualify to be the mayor? Well, I think my service to the community. I'm born and raised here in Champaign, Urbana. I went to Edison, Central, Parkland, Southern Illinois University. I'm a staple in the community. I've committed myself to this community through the Unifor with the kids with a portfolio program. I'm hands-on, and I'm kind of short right here, but basically the reason I want to be your mayor is we got to make a change. Right now, for the last 10 or 20 years, we kind of got stuck with the same kind of city administration. So our community is kind of being left out, and that's one of the main things that I'm here and I'm kind of adamant about running, because we got to have a change in this town, and I'm going to pass on.
Thank you so much, Mr. Cobbs and Mayor Frank Finan.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Hi, I'm Deb Finan. I'm the mayor of the city of Champaign. Thank you to all of our organizers for inviting us today, and to the community members that are here and watching online. I thought it'd be helpful for you to know my why. Why do I want to continue to serve the city of Champaign? And the best way I can tell you that is by telling you about an experience I had knocking on doors recently. While out in the Garden Hills neighborhood, talking to residents about city issues, one of the last doors I knocked on as it was getting dark was that of someone who's been a regular face at the city, advocating for her neighborhood. She came to the door and stepped outside, and as we talked about the changes coming to Garden Hills, her tears began to flow. She thanked me and the council for the streetlight project, which was starting that week in her neighborhood. A project that is going to bring lighting and sidewalks to an area of town that has long been advocating for these safety measures. We talked about the upcoming drainage improvements and stood together in that very emotional but happy moment, enjoying the opportunity to reflect on all the work being done because of our ability to come together, a group of community advocates in Garden Hills, city staff under my leadership, and at the council's direction. To make a direct impact on the lives of our residents, this is when city government is at its best. It is when mayoral leadership is at its best. It is surfaced to our community in a way that changes people's lives for the better. It is listening and problem solving and conversations like the one I had on that doorstep and the hundreds of other doorsteps throughout the city that are my motivation for my continued service, and why I hope you will continue to support me for another term as your mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Finan. Mr. Gerard?
Hi. Why do I want to run for, why do I want to be mayor? I don't know that I do want to be mayor. I didn't really, for it to be completely honest, I didn't really want to run. I turned in my paperwork at the last minute. I had a few fortuitous, I don't know, meetings with folks who said, you know, I was talking with Dion Thomas, and he asked, "You're getting back into politics?" And I said, "Oh, I don't think so." And he said, "Well, you should run again." And I said, "Oh, no, my life is great. I have a beautiful wife. I'm semi-retired. I get to work with the homeless. I get to do some acting. I get to do all kinds of fun stuff. My life is just too good." And he said, "Yeah, but we need good people to run, and you're good people." I don't know if I'm good people, but, you know, Dion's a pretty good man, and I took that as a sign that I should seriously consider this. And then my beautiful wife, Jelena Mercer, she told me that, you know, you shine when you're talking about city issues. When someone comes up and talks to you about stuff, you just light up. You just become the most happy and alive that I see you. Even if it's something challenging, even if it's something trying, you can tell that it is public service is just in you. I never knew if that public service was maybe, apparently it is. Why am I qualified? In 2011, the city had planned on closing the front desk at the police station, had multiple vacancies in police and fire. We had literally $0 in the budget for to repair roads and do infrastructure. Literally zero, nothing. By the time I left office, we had 2 of the 3 largest construction booms in the history of the city. Everything was funded completely. Police, fire, public works, and we had discretionary funds. We created things like Friday Night Live downtown, and I look now and I see big red lights and the downtown is closed. So it makes me think, if I'm gonna complain about it, I better get up and at least try to do something about it. So that's why I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gerard. Thank you, candidates. That was your 2-minute introduction. The rest of the questions have 60-second answers. At 30 seconds, Jen will give us the sign. We will get the yellow card, and then when it's time to stop, to stop. And thank you for being respectful of the stop. Again, I have bad knees. I don't want to have to come up and down the step and give you the gentle tap. Okay, let's go with the first question to Mayor Finan. What are your plans for the future of the city, and what new initiatives will you advocate for to address current issues in the city?
Thank you. I think that really it's about continuing the work that we have started really in the last year relating to the violence reduction blueprint. So as you look at the nearly $8 million that the city is going to be investing in anti-poverty programs in children and in families, and you also look at the fact that the city has created its very first equity and engagement department that is now fully staffed, you recognize, I'm almost out of time, but it is really continuing those items that have just started as we move forward in the next 4 years.
Thank you. Mr. Gerard, I will ask you the same question. If I can repeat the question, if that would be helpful.
No, that's okay. I feel like I'm repeating myself because 7 years ago we talked about these exact same things. So 7 years ago, that would have been my first year priorities to do these type of things. I believe that we need to recruit nationwide for progressive people of color and 21st century forward-thinking peace officers. I think we need to go out and get the best and the brightest, and I think we need to pay a little bit more to have them working for the city. I think that we need to get on the infrastructure in the north end especially, but we have a AAA credit rating of the city of Champaign. These things didn't need to wait. They waited until we had a Democratic president who got us some federal funds. We could have bonded them. We could have had these projects going 7 years ago. Those were the things I was saying last time I ran in 2015. So if you want to go back and look at the tapes, it's pretty much the same answer.
Thank you. Mr. Cobb, if you would like me to repeat the question, I'm happy to do that.
No, ma'am. New initiatives. Right now, we're sitting here with a administration that's been in office for about 10 or 20 years. And it seems like they kind of work behind. You know, all the solutions that they make for the community are going to be pop-up solutions. So we need something concrete. We have a serious crime problem here in Champaign that we're really not addressing head on. We're kind of throwing money all over the community and all over the place, and it's not sticking anywhere. We're giving money to groups and organizations that does not have any accountability to any of the programmings. So what we have to do, my initiative is, first of all, we got to go in there, all the promises that we done made in the last 10 or 20 years to the community, besides liquor stores and all of this, we got to build up our own economic development. We got to build up our own Wall Street so we can be proud of. Our kids cannot have hope if they don't have anything, a home to go to. We're all renters, and contractors are running abroad in the wild. So I'm going to leave it right there.
Thank you, Mr. Cobb. This time, we're going to start with you, Mr. Gerard. The Champaign City Council's goals and key projects, 2021 to 2023, lists 5 goals: community safety, economic opportunity, safe, sustainable infrastructure, vibrant, diverse neighborhoods, and ongoing projects. Select one of these areas and share with us how you plan to achieve this goal.
Well, I think with the infrastructure, I think that's a really tough one. When I was in office last time, if you've ever traveled over I-57 on Windsor Road, there's a beautiful multimodal bike lanes, walking, bus path. The plan for that was a 2-lane like all of the others. That's what we were going to get. But many people said, we don't have the money for that. We can't afford it. And I just don't have time for people to say we can't afford infrastructure like a multimodal bridge connecting our community, especially with the YMCA on the other side of the highway. So, you know, we did the difficult things. You have to make the really difficult task. Gas was $5 a gallon back then, and we passed a 4-cent gas tax, 5 to 4. people were outraged. But boy, oh boy, that's a nice bridge, isn't it? And are y'all hurting from that 4-cent gas tax, or are you happier that you can ride your bike, walk, take the bus, or not have to, negotiate a narrow 2-lane?
Thank you. Mr. Cobb?
Could you repeat that question real quick?
Sure. The City Council goals and key projects have 5 goals: community safety, economic opportunity, safe, sustainable infrastructure, vibrant, diverse neighborhoods, and ongoing projects. One of these areas, could you select it and share with us how you plan to achieve this goal?
Let's go with community safety. Right now, I think the total is 18 officers down that we need to be hired. First of all, we got to get some diversity. We got to find out a way how to hire officers. I know Rantoul did a lot of hiring up there, but we got to figure out how to hire officers. And I think as a mayor, that would be a key to me, because I would make sure that they'll have diversity. Another thing is community policing. I know we got a Family Dollar that's just open, just closed up over here. What I would like to do is turn that into a little substation right there in the community. The city reach out and put it right there so the residents can come in here and we can talk and we can solve some of these problems before they escalate and they start spreading all over the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cobbs. Mayor Finan?
So I'm also going to take community safety, and some of the work that we are doing is we have 2 prongs. We have a social services community prong, and we have a policing prong. The social services community prong is the violence reduction blueprint, and it is the money that we are putting into groups like First Followers, CU Try. We provided social workers at Carl Hospital for when the trauma-involved victims and their families come into the hospital. On the policing side, we hired 19 new officers, 8 of them lateral officers who came in with experience so they could hit the ground running. We changed our hiring practices, so we're doing continual hiring with police officers so that we can continuously be recruiting. We put in license plate readers so that the tools are there for our police officers so that they can solve these crimes.
Thank you, Mayor Finan. We are actually going to start with you again on this next question. How effective do you believe the gun violence reduction blueprint has been so far, and why?
So gun violence is down by about 50% in 2022. You cannot say that that is all blueprint, because blueprint is just getting started. But we do have CREA at the University of Illinois doing an evaluation of the blueprint partners and programs. They will be reporting back to us. So we will have an evaluation at the end of that first year, and we will have an idea of what programs are successful and need to be continued. And we had to basically take the risk and take the leap. We needed to start programming, make a difference in the lives of the youth in our community, and we will have the opportunity then with the University of Illinois' research team to be able to evaluate whether or not those services are working, how to tweak them, and what programs to continue.
Mr. Cobbs?
Yes. I don't think the crime blueprint is really working, because, first of all, we're here in Champaign. We're looking at models that works well for Peoria, Danville, Decatur, and everything like that. But we have our own problems here in this community. This administration failed to address that, what's really going on in this community. I mean, we getting gunshots every night. On the other side of town, you don't hear the gunshots. We can't sleep. Garden Hills, we need everything. License plate readers don't solve no crime. Gunshot, we got all, we poured 16 million. I think we poured 16 million into crime. But we need a new administration. We need a new leadership. What we are lacking in this community is new leadership. This administration has been in office too long. It's time to break this love relationship up. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Cobbs. Mr. Gerard?
Could you repeat the question?
Sure. How effective do you believe the gun violence reduction blueprint has been so far, and why?
I'm very happy to see that gun violence is down in Champaign. As of February 23rd, Bishop Wynn, my pastor today, we just came from church, and he noted that as of February 23rd, 6,278 deaths by gun violence in the United States this year. I'm not going to address the blueprint directly as much as I'm not going to read a proclamation thanking the Moms Demand Action for existing. I'm going to demand action myself. I'm not going to donate money to a congressman, whether there are congressmen or just adjacent or any in Illinois, who has an A+ rating from the NRA. And I'm going to tell you what I am telling our elected officials. I'm going to work with our governor on his initiatives to reduce gun violence. I'm going to work with all of our elected officials and those who are adjacent. I won't name any names, but those who are adjacent to our community, to our who do, follow in the Trump pattern. I will call them out, and I will call them out publicly, and I will let it know that Champaign is not going to stand for this, and we will fight back.
Thank you, Mr. Gerard. We will start with you this time, Mr. Cobbs. What is your position on hiring and budgeting for more staff for the police department who are trained in mental health or social services delivery as opposed to policing?
Well, what we do, I would do everything I can to work with the the police department and everything, to give them all the tools they need to work with, and especially mental health. A lot of the 60% of the crime that's being committed out here is because of mental health issues. We need some mental health, not talking promises and pop-up solutions. We need some real dollars going into mental health. And I guess we got to work with our congressmen and our senators and everything like that. But we have to turn the corner and give the police what they want, because above and beyond, they're doing an excellent job, and we have to provide for them, and we got to give them the tools they need. And then it's not just pulling people over, 430% of pulling people over and everything like that. That doesn't solve crime. We have to get in the neighborhoods and knock on the doors and win the respect of this community. But we haven't tried that yet. We tried everything else but that.
Thank you, Mr. Cobbs. Mr. Gerard?
Could you repeat the question?
Absolutely. What is your position on hiring and budgeting for more staff for the police department who are trained in mental health or social services delivery as opposed to policing?
Well, I was absolutely proud of the fact that we hired Chief Cobbs during my tenure, the first black man to be a police chief in the city of Champaign, and he's a good man, and he's moved up the ladder a little bit, so now we have an ally at the state level for even more so. But I think it's just absolutely imperative. I don't want to defund the police. I want to fund police programs differently. I want to go out and actually, was talking about this with Damara Turner just before this. Let's go recruit nationwide young people who have a 21st century view of policing. Let's recruit them and invite them to Champaign. Let's give them incentives to start their family. Young people who have experience with mental health issues, young people who see the importance of community policing, young people who are coming out and dedicated their life to change, be it California, Mississippi, Minnesota, wherever they might be. Let's spend a little extra money, target them, find them, bring them to a great place to live, make them part of our community, and let them help us with this challenge.
Thank you, Mr. Gerard. Mayor Finan?
Not only do I support this idea, but we're working on it. So the chief of police and the fire chief have been meeting to discuss how we can deploy social workers, and they are starting to work on an action plan relating to that. And so, like everything in government, I suppose things move slowly, but it is something that council is aware of and that city staff is working on. With respect to mental health trained officers, we do have our CIT officers and we do have some mental health training. That doesn't mean that we don't need more, and it would be great if all of our officers were eventually trained as well. But you should know that this is something that council heard loud and clear when we did our listening sessions, and that we are currently working on.
Thank you. Mr. Gerard, we will start with you on this next question. Would you be willing to increase spending to train police in de-escalation techniques? Why or why not? And if yes, how would you adjust the city budget to pay for it?
Oh, I mean, absolutely. We were doing that during my tenure. We had an officer who wrote a scholarly piece on dealing with individuals with excited delirium and recognizing the symptoms of someone who's having an attack as opposed to someone who is just, purely violent. I think that the police department funding is probably adequate, but again, I've been away from the game a little bit. But I think certainly there are things, packaged liquor, I think could certainly afford to, you know, a penny or two on the dollar would pay for a whole lot of programs. And seeing as how alcohol is the cause of a lot of our, you know, issues here locally, whether be it in campus or otherwise, I think that, you know, we tried that once, we didn't get it passed when I was mayor, but I think maybe the time is right to go forward again and look at these organizations. You look at these stores like, you know, the big chain stores and say, you know, it's going to be an extra penny or two on the dollar, and our communities, we're going to invest it in our community.
Thank you. Mayor Finan?
So we do have a training budget, and I believe it does include de-escalation techniques, but certainly if there is a need to beef that up, that is something that we should consider. I think it's worth noting that the City of Champaign Police Force already adhered to the NAACP 10 principles, and that was prior to George Floyd's murder. And so the City of Champaign has tried to be on the cutting edge of training of our officers and making sure that we do community policing.
Thank you. Mr. Cobbs?
I would like to, I'd like to say that with de-escalation, we need to maybe find the money out of the marijuana sales that we got that's open up, the pot shops that's open up all around town, since it's kind of associated with crime, that we should, maybe a little tax and all of that should help fund the police. And we got to have the de-escalation. I think the serious problem that we're having with the police and the community is de-escalation. That's the only thing missing right now. We have to, a lot of our policers are coming in from Muhammad all over and kind of outsourcing everything. They have to get to know this community. This community is hopeless. It doesn't have anything to strive and nothing to hold on to right now. Our kids are out there. So basically, we have to tax, I hate to say it, tax the marijuana industry, and we got to get that money. They make not enough money in here, in town, so we have to use good solutions to provide the money, but the de-escalation has to be the foremost of getting forward in police escalation.
Thank you. Mayor Finan, you will start this next question. What changes, if any, would you recommend be made to the Champaign Citizen Review Subcommittee?
Well, I think one of the things that is worth considering is whether or not it should be rolled into the Human Relations Commission and then allow that board to have the oversight for the CRS. I also think that getting it fully appointed so that they can have regular meetings, something that council just approved, so that is helpful. And I think that giving Chief Tyler, who has brand new to our community, only been here less than a year, an opportunity to work with that committee and then make recommendations to us about what he thinks changes might be necessary is important as well, because they do work symbiotically with our police department and our chief.
Thank you. Mr. Cobbs?
Yes, when it comes down to the police subcommittee, we have to, when you got administration that's been in office for so long, 10 or 20 years in city council and government, they kind of get, the ideas get kind of old-fashioned and antiquated and outdated. So we have to come up with better solutions. And when they go out and they get the police commissions and people that sit on the boards and everything, it's not fair because it's all, you know, it's like playing cards. It's all an inside job. I've been doing this for 10 or 20 years, and I've not had the opportunity to work with this mayor, speak with this mayor, work on the community, problem solve, anything. I applied for the positions as far as the committees and everything, not a one. So my word is, man, it's tough. If you're on the outside, and you're running against this mayor and this city administration that's been tucked in, you're in trouble.
Thank you. Mr. Gerard?
May I ask you to repeat the question?
Sure. What changes, if any, would you recommend be made to the Champaign Citizen Review Subcommittee?
Coincidentally, about a month ago, someone reached out to me who was affiliated with the committee and said that they hadn't had a meeting in 13 months, I think, for the Citizens Review Subcommittee because there was 2 open appointments, no appointments, and they couldn't get a quorum. I went to the city website, noticed on the Human Relations Committee that there was vacancies as well. So a few weeks ago, I expressed my concerns, and I'm very happy to see that suddenly we have all the positions were appointed last week. So that's fantastic. It's unfortunate we had to wait 13 months. But I think the subcommittee could be very valuable. Again, I think we need to go out and recruit people who have the vision, who have the knowledge, who have the education to work the type of policing we need in our community to keep us safe. We need to get experts, the best and the brightest. And whether that involves incentives, whether that involves personally reaching out to them, those are the type of things that I think the leadership in this city needs to get out and not sit and say nobody applied, but go out and find someone to fill that seat.
Thank you. Mr. Cobbs, you get the first shot at this question. As mayor, how will you help Champaign residents in need of affordable, attainable housing, including school-aged children who are currently homeless?
What I would do is right there at Fifth and Hill and District 1, University and all of that, I would go in there. A lot of the properties over there, whether or not the city cleaned up the contamination over there on Fifth and Hill, that's another story. But a lot of that property over there is rental property now, and the bank owned a lot of that property in foreclosure. I would go in there and do it for affordable housing for the community over there, help them be first-time homeowners, something that a lot of them probably won't be able to achieve in their lifetime, and use all that area coming on down from Washington to Bradley and kind of change the parameter. And these kids, they don't have anything to hold on, because right now, with the pandemic coming down, we were vulnerable because the type of housing that we're building. You know, we were building houses on top of each other like projects. We need people to be able to spread out and be able to be homeowners and own their own houses and be homeowners for the first time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Gerard.
A couple years ago, I was offered the opportunity to retire early from the university, and I took it coincidentally because I noticed that the organization CU at Home was understaffed and really struggling. And I'm not going to say that God called me, but it might have been someone he knows. I don't know. But working at CU at Home, it's the type of program we have now, is we take those who are potential to be employed, to be housed, to get sober, and give them the bootstraps to pull up. So I think that we have a variety of programs in place, but you can put someone in a hotel for a night, but they still have the same problem when they wake up in the morning. We need to do long-term address, the issue of affordable housing. It really needs to become a priority. If we can give the largest tax break in the history of the city to a car dealership, we can afford to invest in the least fortunate of our brethren.
Mayor Finan.
So I'm really proud of the work we've done in this area. In the last year, the city of Champaign has put $4 million into the Strides low barrier shelter. That means if you are drunk or on drugs and you need a place to stay, you have a place to stay regardless. We also have funded CU at Home because they are the next level shelter. They are not low barrier, but we have funded them. We also have funded about $600,000 to the Housing Authority. They are going to remodel buildings for family shelters for homeless families. And we have put aside money that will be used for landlords. If landlords rent to homeless families, and if for any reason they need to repair their properties when those families move out because of things that have happened within the property, the landlords can apply for up to $2,000 for a repair credit as a way to encourage them to rent to those families.
Thank you all. This time we're going to start with you, Mr. Gerard. How specifically do you plan to address the council goal of improving resident access to healthy foods and essential services, given the food and service deserts that exist in our city?
I can't ask you to repeat the question.
Absolutely. How do you plan to address
little
the
nervous.
council goal of improving resident access to healthy foods and essential services, given the food and service deserts that exist in our community?
I think we're extraordinarily fortunate to live in a community that does have the beginnings of these programs. I myself, the House of Faith that I attend on a monthly basis has the bus come up and people just get vegetables from the prosperity gardens, take what they need, this and that. I think we really need to aggressively recruit reasonable grocery stores, so someone doesn't have to take the bus for 45 minutes to do their grocery shopping. We need to encourage developers to make the type of stores that folks like you and I, or I don't know, maybe just me, who are either cheap and or poor, afford good quality food. But I think it's also within programs. We live in the heartland. There's a lot of farms around here. Let's provide some incentives, and let's give some food away. Let's incentivize some of these farmers. Let's encourage our state legislators to incentivize farmers to grow food instead of just corn for cattle.
Thank you. Mayor Finan?
So CU City Farms, which is the van that provides fresh vegetables, and they do that in conjunction with Healthy Families. Part of how they paid for, it's actually a redone MTD bus that they put food storage in. Part of how they paid for that was a grant that I helped them apply for through a Mayor's Innovation Grant project. So I have been working with them and others. They meet regularly. And we have a group that is working on trying to not only provide healthy food, but also to provide workforce development around growing healthy food. And that's something the township is also investing in.
Thank you. Mr. Cobbs?
I would like to say that if you look around town, when we look at food insecurity and poverty, you notice that the lines, if you ever pass by First Street, the lines at the homeless shelter are getting longer. Homelessness is out of control. It's not getting any better. Poverty is going up. The folks, we got more folks, and we got all of this money that's coming from the government, from the pandemic, but none of it seems to be sticking or reaching the community or anything like that, because we really don't have anything to show for it. So what do we do about it? Community, where do they go to get their food? They got to go to the liquor store to get their oranges and their bananas. Where do they go? So my plan is, Fifth and Hill, we did the Amaran plant, we cleaned it up. Wouldn't that make a nice grocery store for the community, which would be right there, instead of giving it out for $1 to some contractors? I'm just saying.
Thank you. Mayor Finan, you will kick off this next question. How important do you think citizen engagement is to our local government decision-making, and how will you ensure that level of engagement happens?
So I think it's very important, and anyone is welcome at our council meetings and our study sessions. But one of the ways that I really work hard at engagement is really by going out and knocking on doors, talking to citizens. And it's something that I do with our residents throughout the cycle. It's not something that I just do when I'm campaigning. So for example, when we were talking about license plate readers and we were talking about things that were going to impact Garden Hills, like the drainage project, I actually spent an afternoon walking and knocking on doors several times, talking to those residents, seeing what their feelings were on the projects that we were talking about. I've done that in the Eisner Park neighborhood. I've done that in Ironwood. I've spent time in about every neighborhood in this community. I also attend a lot of community events and try to make myself available for people.
Thank you. Mr. Cobbs?
We talk about civil engagement. Okay, I live in the Garden Hills, but I hear everybody talking about Garden Hills, but they never ask me. We've been waiting on drainage, we've been waiting on lights, we've been waiting on sidewalks. We just had this big rain last week, it just flooded us out. And we got crime up here, we got cameras everywhere, we got license plate readers, But when you go over there, you ask, well, who's the mayor? They haven't seen the mayor, you see. So it takes, being a mayor, you have to know your community. When we get the folks that's shooting and the folks that's dying and everything, I know these people, I know the family, so it's a special touch that I have with the community that, people can be able to talk about, I live this and I do so much for Garden Hills. Garden Hills is competing with the other side of town for drainage and everything else. But here we're talking about 20 or 30 years down the road, but we're talking about millions of dollars that's being allocated and spent, but nothing to show for it. So I don't believe the rhetoric. Talk to people that live in Garden Hills that suffered.
Thank you. Mr. Gerard?
When I was elected in 2011, I got a lot of good advice shortly thereafter from fellow council members who told me what to do. Don't waste your time with people who don't vote. Don't ever talk to U of I students because they'll quote you and you cause some trouble for yourself. Just keep your head down and just try to keep things manageable. I listened to that advice and I didn't do any of it. I did every single interview every single student at the university and high schools asked me to do. It was just excruciatingly difficult to fit it all in, but I did. I went out and talked to people face to face. We organized so that folks would have the basic right to own urban hens. I was told that's never gonna pass, don't bring it up. I couldn't get more than one signature even for a study session to talk about it. So we organized the community, they came, and now you can have hens because the community came out and spoke. I think it's one thing to knock on doors when you're campaigning, it's another thing to do it on a daily basis.
We only have time for one more question. Of course, we have more than that, so I urge you to stick around afterwards in, of course, room C, and you can ask more questions. Here's our last question, and the order that we're going to go in is Mr. Cobb, Mr. Gerard, and Mayor Finan. What are your top 2 operational and top 2 capital funding priorities and why, Mr. Cobbs?
Top 2, okay, top 2 is going to be economic development in the minority areas. And my number 2 is going to be make sure that police got what they need. And I'm just going to leave it like that. I'm not going to even elaborate on that.
Mayor Finan?
So my top priority for infrastructure has been Garden Hills. And since I have been mayor, we have allocated and committed about $54 million to infrastructure in and around that neighborhood. My top operational priority is continuing to support our very new Department of Equity and Engagement. I'm very proud of the creation of that department. It's the first time we've ever had one at the City of Champaign, and as they have become fully staffed and they are available not only to work on diversity of contracting within the City of Champaign, but also they are frontline staff that is out with our violence reduction blueprint. They are in neighborhoods. They are working on helping families and victims of crime, but they are also there with the rest of the neighborhood to engage.
Mr. Gerard?
I've said this in interviews, and it's true. Had I been reelected in 2016, we would have used our AAA credit sterling rating to do these projects and get them started, because that's an investment that there is a return on investment. I think it's egregiously irresponsible to say, well, we waited around until the money came to us. We had the opportunity to do it, and it was passed over until we got a Democratic governor, till things changed and there could be, more opportunities. I still believe that, investing in our citizens and our neighborhoods, the stormwater, Champaign was built on a swamp. Let's dry it all up. Let's raise everyone's property values and, make neighborhoods safer. As far as, I'm sorry, what was the second part of the question?
No, absolutely.
I'm so nervous, Elizabeth.
I get it. It's hard to answer questions in front of other people. I give my credit to all the candidates. In what ways could your top 2 operational capital funding?
My second one would definitely be downtown. I took my dog for a walk last night at 9:45, and there was big barricades. We have this vibrant, wonderful downtown, and we close off our parking lots at 9 p.m. on the weekends because we're afraid someone might get shot. That's not a good answer. That's not a acceptable answer.
Thank you so much. Each candidate now, and I've gone over in time, so we will have less time for the Q&A at the end, which I misspoke. It's not in C, that's for City Council later. It is actually going to be at the back of the room. Marcy, where are we meeting? Point to where we're going to do the Q&A, right here. Oh, just. Perfect, but before we get to that, we want to hear, based on everything we've heard from each candidate, they get 2 minutes to explain why should we elect them for mayor. Let's start with you, Mayor Finan.
I'm asking for your vote as mayor, and I believe I'm the best choice in this field because I'm practiced at helping people gain consensus, finding common ground among people with divergent opinions and agendas. I'm an active and curious listener, and I have the ability to remain calm even when the emotions of those I'm serving are running high. By understanding all sides of an issue, I provide better service to those I'm representing. I am adept at running meetings and keeping them on track. I'm not afraid of new challenges, nor am I afraid to reach out to people who are not my natural allies. I enjoy getting to know new people and tackling hard problems in a respectful and productive manner. Managing expectations and making hard decisions and problem solving are things that I excel at. As your mayor, I have governed during the COVID-19 pandemic, creating and maintaining partnerships throughout our entire community that provided information and service during the height of the pandemic and which form a framework Conference of Mayors. I'm an attorney by trade, and I also have 30 years of public service to our community. In those 30 years, I've had a positive impact on the community that we all call home. It's my hope that my record and my reputation speak for themselves. I would appreciate your vote. Thank you for hosting this forum.
Mr. Gerard?
First of all, I want to thank everyone coming out. I especially want to thank those who are current public servants and seeking public service. It's not fun. It's a rough gig, and God bless you all that do it. If I'm not elected, I'm not going to take it personally. You guys don't have to sling mud. Just don't vote for me. That's fine, because I have a beautiful wife. I have a nice life. I have I enjoy my free time. If not, if you do vote for me, and I'm given and put in a position to work for you, I will work for you, and I will work for you full time. I am retired from the university this time. Last time I was doing 2 full-time jobs. I look like this now. People don't recognize me because of the stress from doing that. But I'll tell you what, there's a lot of satisfaction, and I tell you what, I'm not going to not show up for an elected official because they're not in my party, and I'm not going to donate money to someone who is diametrically opposed to the values of Champaign because they're in my party. In fact, I'm not going to do party politics. I'm going to work with elected officials who are going to work in the best interest, and if they're not, I'm going to call them out. I'm going to use my bully pulpit. I was criticized in 2015 for being outspoken against Governor Rauner. 8 credit downgrades ran our state right into the ditch, and it was said, you need to be respectful and work with him. Well, he didn't do very good. If I'd have been there, I wouldn't have been respectful, and I would have stood up for Champaign. When Rodney Davis completely ignored our city, I didn't donate money to his campaign. I said, you need to come here and you need to do your job. $174,000 a year, and you sneak into our city for your fundraisers, and otherwise we don't hear hide nor hair. You run as Donald Trump's best friend. That's not the values of Champaign. Champaign is a progressive, educated city, and we need someone who's going to be out there working with those people, not doing what they need to do because of their lifelong affiliation to a political party.
And with the final word, Mr. Cobbs.
Amen. First of all, as a mayor, we need change. Right now we're 18% of the population, maybe lower than that, the minority position. But Champaign, there's just so much potential here in Champaign-Urbana. We don't need party politics where people just live in office. They build houses in office. We need to share this. It needs to be for everybody. We need to have a democratic process This is my 7th campaign, 3 times running for city council, 2 times for school board, 2 times for mayor. I've been getting my butt kicked. This is what a person look like that's get to, in politics, that doesn't win. But all I have to do is win 1 time, you see, and my mission is accomplished. But I'm not gonna let this community down, anything. If nobody wants to get up and rise up and be the leadership and stand up, I'm not gonna sit back and let it. I'm gonna stand up no matter what. No, if I can't get the words out, if I can't say the right thing, but I'm dedicated to this community, and I'm dedicated to the people out here in this audience, and I hope that you can vote for me. We need change. It's for the betterment. For our kids, we need to show that, we need to prove that we're diverse down here in Champaign, Urbana. We need to practice what we preach when we walk in the police stations, in the material rooms and everything. We want to see people that look like us. We went to the library, I want to see people that look like us. WCIA, I want to see people that look like us. News Gazette, I want to see more people in the newsroom. We're not asking for much. This is 2023. I'm getting old at this. If I can't solve any of this while I'm gone, I don't know what it's going to be like. We got to leave our kids a better hand and everything. Everybody can't live in this office forever. Give other people a chance and show that we are diversified and that we care about everybody. Let's make a difference, Champaign. Vote for Azark David Cobbs.
Thank you. Thank you to the audience, to our sponsors, the timekeepers, and most importantly, the candidates. Thank you for being here today and for putting yourselves out there. We don't have a lot of time for the Q&A or the meet and greet with them, but please reach out to their campaigns on your own after today and let them answer your questions if there's anything that they weren't able to get to. Stick around at 2:30. We're going to start with Champaign City Council, but in the meantime, really good. Diane Orr is such a good baker, and there are great treats in the back. Help yourself. Thank you all for being here, and thanks to the candidates.